Recently, I played through the entire Pikmin trilogy for the first time, and surprise, surprise, they're good games. I don't really have anything new to say about how I'd rank the series. In fact, here's my ranking right here. However, I will say that playing each of these games so close to one another really did highlight the ways the formula was more and more realized with every entry. Pikmin 1 has a really strong core concept. Playing as Captain Olimar, the goal is to escape from an unknown planet before you die, while amassing an army of carrot-looking alien dudes. For my first real-time strategy type game, it was a lot of fun, but its biggest weaknesses, like most first entries, lie in the rough edges that had yet to be smoothed. Pikmin 2 took it upon itself to smooth some of those edges, but in return, added a whole host of new problems. A lot of its design choices lie in opposition to what made the first game so special. Namely, the lack of a day limit and the cave system. A good concept marred by some lengthy gauntlets, random object placement, and bombs that just fall out of the sky. But hey, I found it kind of funny. But then, 9 years later, Pikmin made a grand return. Pikmin 3 is genuinely outstanding. It takes the best parts of both previous games, while realizing their missteps to create something fun, addictive, and special. Not too simple, but not too complex. I could go on listing what all they did to make the formula so much better and the concept more well realized, but really, I only need to point to one part of this game. The final area, Formidable Oak. With the build up to the finale of the whole game on its shoulders, and a pulse-pounding twist on the Pikmin formula, Formidable Oak makes one hell of a finale for Pikmin 3. In my opinion, it's not just the game's greatest triumph, but maybe the greatest triumph of the entire Pikmin series. So far, anyway. If they top this in Pikmin 4, I'll probably yell and make a video on that. On the path of trying to find Captain Olimar so they can get home, Alf, Brittany, and Charlie enter the Formidable Oak. But as soon as they land, something feels off. This area is barren. There are no enemies to be seen at first glance, and a giant wooden tower takes the center stage. It's not like Pikmin to have an area so desolate. It feels wrong, and this feeling is only accentuated by the unnerving ambience here. It sounds more like a Metroid song than a Pikmin one, but man, I love it. This unnatural vibe permeates the entirety of the finale, escalating when we meet Captain Olimar himself. He's just lying there, his suit set into forced sleep mode, and he's being poked and prodded at by this weird, gelatinous life form. The intrepid explorers approach the situation, but as soon as they do, this life form immediately envelops Olimar inside of itself, leading to only one option: beating the ever-loving daylights out of it, of course. After that, it falls apart before their eyes. But from there, things get a little more complex. The Pikmin proceed to try and carry Olimar, but realize that they can't go back the way they came. Pikmin can't carry stuff up geysers, so the easy route is off the menu. Instead, our crew must venture into the belly of the beast, the tower that lies in the center of this area. And once we head inside, things take a very interesting turn. This is the moment where Pikmin 3 starts to focus just a bit more on survival. The Pikmin must follow the designated captain so that they can escape from this area and escort Olimar. It's not Pikmin's first rodeo with this kind of thing, but it's definitely my favorite. And in the expected Pikmin 3 fashion, this area takes cues from two places of Pikmin's past. Pikmin 1's The Final Trial, in the way that it tests every lesson the game has taught, and Pikmin 2's most infamous cave, the Submerged Castle. I found Pikmin 2's Submerged Castle to be a really unique little dungeon. Maybe my favorite from the game. I get the critiques, but I don't know. I thought it was cool. In this cave, the player is forced to bring only one type of Pikmin into the depths, that being blue Pikmin. The cave entrance is underwater, after all, and once you get in there, time is of the essence. You'll be gathering treasures and beating monsters as usual, but if you take too long on a floor, the Water Wraith spawns. A vicious, undefeatable beast on wheels. Even if bro's looking like a mutated jelly bean, its strength is not to be underestimated. It's described as a psychic phenomenon, and theorized that its physical form is anchored in another dimension. With its giant wheels, it can instantly crush and kill your Pikmin, and it's not exactly the slowest monster in the game either. So when this thing spawns, you gotta run. This dynamic continues until you reach the final floor, where you can make purple Pikmin to force it to become solid, turning it from jelly bean to eggplant. I don't know why that does it, but I really like this idea a lot. The stress, the terror, and the panic all culminating up into this payoff at the end of the dungeon, it's done really well. And I think the devs at Nintendo liked the idea too, because when making Pikmin 3, they must have asked themselves, how can we make an enemy like the Water Wraith even more stressful? Well, to answer that, we take a look at the formidable oak and the sorrowful beast that accompanies it. The Plasm Wraith may be more tangible than the Water Wraith, but that does not make it any less of a force to be reckoned with. First off, I want to discuss the journal entries found in this area. Olimar's notes are found throughout the game, but they take a bit of a turn here. Before, they built up his character, serving as a good reminder for Pikmin veterans and an introduction to the character for people who started with 3. But here in the Oak, they almost all revolve around his experiences with the Plasm Wraith. They describe how it doesn't seem hostile to him, but it won't let him escape this place either. How Olimar has no Pikmin in this area left to help him after a certain point. How he's tried again and again to escape, and yet always finds himself back at the top of the tower. My only hope is for someone to save me from this torment. Sheesh. And well, if that wasn't enough to sell the Plasm Wraith's threat level, it's evident from the moment it drops into frame inside the tower. There's no time to get ahead like with the Water Wraith. This guy drops in immediately. And when that happened, the realization hit for me. No matter what, pursuit by the Plasm Wraith is mandatory. It will not stop moving, trudging through this cavern until Olimar is back in its grasp. The whole area's map is designed with it in mind. Because of this whole area feels like a more polished cave from Pikmin 2. The gauntlet-like nature of it, the mood and the lighting, but it also combines those parts with the above-ground elements, like the hard time limit. The fact that a dungeon like this still has the traditional Pikmin time limit really freaked me out the first time I went through it. And the fact that that time limit is combined with the persistence of the Plasm Wraith really does make this such a unique Pikmin experience. It climbs over small obstacles, making shortcuts for itself, and when it catches Olimar, it can even summon fire, water, electricity, and turn its goop into crystals. It can be beaten back, but it'll recover and resume the pursuit soon after. And what's more, every single enemy in the Formidable Oak is the creation of the Wraith. This is shown by how they decompose into the golden plasm when they're defeated. It's really surreal to see, knowing the enemies seen throughout the story quest, and some that weren't, are having their likenesses used simply to keep you from escaping the grasp of this beast. It raises so many questions about where it came from, and where the actual creatures that may have previously lived in the Oak went. But also, it's a really damn clever game design thing. Making the enemies spawn to the Plasm Wraith keeps Pikmin from uselessly dragging enemies back to base. After all, the only thing that they need to carry there is Olimar. And let me tell you, carrying Olimar through here in the span of one day can be tough. Sure, it may feel frustrating to make big progress, run out of time, and have to start from the first room, but there are shortcuts to create along the way. Just be careful making the shortcuts, or else, FUCK! That can happen. The cherry on top of this tension sundae, though, has to be the music. It starts out eerie, with this beating percussion in the background combined with the main distorted melody. more instruments get layered on as it gets closer, telling you, hey, speed it up, make sure that you don't get caught here. And if you do get caught, the tomb just explodes into this cacophony to make sure that you know, no matter what, priority 1 is getting Olimar out and getting back to the escort. The fact that the game has such a consistent through line at this point to make sure the player is more stressed than they've ever been throughout the rest of this game sells this area. It's what makes it work. And that just makes it so much more gratifying to get through it. Once the team escapes the Beast Tower, though, they still have to beat it back in order to get Olimar for good and escape. And let me tell you, that boss fight is truly great. I wouldn't call it the most challenging of the trilogy's final bosses. In fact, I'd say the opposite. I'd say it's probably the easiest. But the payoff of the Water Wraiths battle, combined with it being, well, an actual fight, makes it feel like the most climactic of the trilogies. It has some of the attacks that it had during the escort part, such as turning its goop into various elements, but it can also float into the air, stabbing and consuming multiple Pikmin at a time. The object of this fight, however, is not to just attack and kill, but rather to attack the Wraith, get some of its goop off of its body, and then attack the goop to make sure that it can't regenerate. There's no lock-on for the goop, so really, you just kind of have to spam charge if you want to do anything effectively here. Spamming the charge move and whacking off... I really put whacking off? Holy shit.
I gotta go home and whack off!
Spamming the charge move and hitting off a whole bunch of goop is crazy satisfying. You rinse and repeat until you beat the boss, and that's that. Pikmin 3 is done with a super strong finale. At the end of the game, though, there's something that really interests me, and that's the fact that even after our happy ending and all that, it's apparent that the Plasm Wraith is not truly gone. That might be the part that feels the most unnerving about this whole thing. It's still there in the game's ending, wriggling atop that tower. These intrepid explorers drove it away long enough to escape, but if another captain happens to crash land on this planet, who knows? The cycle may repeat itself. The Formidable Oak truly is a fantastic finale. It takes everything learned in Pikmin 3 and mixes it together into a big old melting pot. It's demanding and bold, but not overwhelming. I feel it's emblematic of the franchise's evolution. It took some of the riskier, messier aspects of past entries and gave them another shake. And lo and behold, here we are with one of my favorite areas in the series. I think going through this really eased my doubts about Pikmin 4, too. I raised an eyebrow when I saw that the caves were returning, but hey, if this is anything to go by, the caves in that game could truly be something special. Or they could just fall into the same trappings. I'm just gonna cover all my bases here.